Welcome to today's Executive Summit, Making Mobile Work, Turning iPads into Enterprise Platforms. Today, Forrester Research Vice President and Principal Analyst Ted Schadler provides a data-driven view of the state of mobile platforms and adoption. He shows where mobile is headed as the new face of business engagement. Harmony co-founder and CEO Yaakov Cohen demonstrates Harmony for iPad, the first product to provide enterprise and interaction. Please raise your hand at any time using the raise hand features in your GoToWebinar console. During designated question and answer periods, we'll unmute the line and invite you to ask your question. If you have any difficulty logging into GoToWebinar, send an email to Michal, that's M-I-C-H-A-L-C at harmon.ie. Let me repeat that, M-I-C-H-A-L-C at harmon.ie. And Michal will send you the presentation slides. And if you have any questions, you can also send those to her email. Ted, could you please start us off?
You bet. Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I happen to be here in San Diego for the day and looking out on a gray day, but I suspect the sun will come out soon enough. So thanks, Yaakov, for inviting me to be part of this, and thanks, everybody, for joining. So let's see, move this window away from the shared application. I've got something new here. Here we go. Let's try that. I'm presuming everybody can see my my slides, Making Mobile Work a Pragmatic Approach to Employee Engagement. So let me just jump into it. We're going to do kind of some idea level discussion, and then we're going to do a little bit of a poll to see where you all are. We hope to make this very interactive, so I would encourage you to think about the questions that are on your mind, and we'd like to really tackle those questions today and do it in a way that you come away with a little bit of an action plan, or certainly some more confidence that the initiatives that you're taking on are grounded and supported by industry best practice. So let's make this interactive. But I did want to get us started with kind of some information. I'm also going to share some data because Forrester collects a lot of data. I'm going to get us started here with an idea, and it's a quite simple idea that has profound implications. And the idea, just really to say it very simply, is that with a mobile phone, and it was certainly true with BlackBerry, but it's even more true with a touchscreen phone. It's all true with a tablet in a slightly different way. Your customers and your employees have given you permission to be in their pocket, right? To be with them at all times. And we all know how we behave with phones, and now tablets sort of allow us to extend that experience into many other rooms of the house and parts of our working life, and in customer conversations, while traveling on buses and airplanes and other things. So the real question for a company is, what will we do with that honor? How will we take advantage of the fact that our employees have given us permission to be carried around in their pockets and their pocketbooks? And I think it's a simple question, but it really has some pretty significant impact on how we as businesses and how technology professionals provision service, how we deliver applications and data and content to employees and in service of the business. So when you think about mobile is really a trigger here. It's a reason why. It's an excuse so I'm sorry, I'm still getting this thing going on here. I apologize. Presumably you can see my slides, so I'll just keep going. So engagement goals are served by mobile apps. And when you think about the apps, it's true for customers, focusing tasks and their context, and really in their moments of decision. We help partners if we're providing order management systems or status updates to partners. We can do that through a mobile app as well. And lastly, and probably most importantly for us today, We can help employees by putting the right content and the right data into the hands of people as they're making decisions, when they're either walking into a meeting, when they're in a meeting, when they're preparing, in their downtime. So there's a very in the mind of kind of sorry, I'm just trying to advance the slide. Here we go. So when you think about the technology it takes to do it, we've got a lot of history, systems of record, transaction systems and content systems. And what we've been building over the last few years is systems of engagement. That is the technologies that really bridge the gap between the transaction and the content and the people, the employees, the person, the customers. So when you think about a SharePoint on a tablet, that's a system of engagement, whereas SharePoint itself might really be more of a system of record. It might be a place where people go to get documents or content. When you think about email, well, that is a system of engagement. When you think about the corporate website for customers, that's a system of engagement. And so it's the interaction between people and information, between people and each other, that are the systems of engagement. And the reason that we kind of draw the picture this way is that there is a new thing happening because of the need to get this information out on mobile devices. The way when you think about smart products, also a system of engagement. So I'm sorry, I'm just going to pause really quick here and make one quick change. So just bear with me just a moment. I apologize for that. I'll just take it back. I figured out what was going on. Let's get back. Let's get. So engagement is that taking advantage of being in somebody's content, take the out to them. So engagement, right? Any Apple, Android, BlackBerry certainly still, and Windows, and it's any location. This is the last mile opportunity, or instead of being shackled at your desk or tied to a corporate network, you're really wirelessly connected through Wi-Fi or cellular, so any network at any time. And when you think about engagement or being in somebody's pocket, it's very task-oriented. There people are trying to do something, so how do you make it easy for them to do it, as opposed to what are all the things they might do and what are the scenarios. It's about push in many cases. You notify people when something's important. Apple shared a stat yesterday that they've got like 1 billion notifications a day going out, and they've reached 1 trillion, maybe 10 billion notifications a day, and they've got over 1 trillion notifications since they launched a few years ago. So notification of browser value and getting the word out that something has changed, a status has changed, or something needs attention. It's really service, not just self-service. The website and desktop are about self-service. People come to your site, they come to your application, and they serve themselves. They menu, they tab, they mouse around, they search. But with a mobile device, you're really much more in the moment, much more in their context, and so you have an opportunity to really think through what tasks and activities people are engaged in, and then serve them right there, in that task. And then lastly, mobile really does require an opt-in, not opt-out. You need to be cognizant of the fact that this is a very private interaction that people are having. It's very personal, and so you can't just assume that everybody wants everything. You have to give people, permission to decide how much they want to be engaged. So it's a very different model than the web or client-server PC applications is. And that has some profound changes for IT systems. When you think about the other side of it, the demand side of it, we of course have this explosion of adoption. And at Forrester we do forecasts, and I'm sharing one with you here, that is laptops and tablets and smartphones for U.S. consumers. And of course the same is true in a business setting. So laptops are growing steadily, have been for a while, and we think kind of peak out at about not quite 50% of the population by 2016, almost 150 million laptops. When you look at tablets, though, we have this tremendous growth curve. It's the fastest growing category in history, and we project that it will reach 126 million U.S. consumers by 2016, and about 3 times that many globally. Again, Apple and Android are the big players here, Apple particularly with iPad, but it's a very convenient device for consuming content, media, doing applications, playing games, and so there's this tremendous growth in tablets. And then lastly, smartphones, and this one continues to grow. We in fact forecast that almost 85% of the population will have a smartphone, and many of those will be touchscreen phones by 2016. So we've got this explosion of demand. People are just expecting more and more applications and a higher and higher quality of experience on their devices, and that's kind of the state of the art. You've got the CEO bringing in an iPad and asking for for email and for content. You've got employees out meeting with customers looking for a 360-degree view. You've got field service personnel using tablets for checking on the next maintenance activity, and in fact what the last maintenance activity on that air conditioner was, and what the parts are and how you install them. So just tremendous opportunity. So that's just a little bit of context. Mobile engagement is really different from PC or PC web self-service. It's really a permission-based model where you really do need to think through what people are doing and where they are and how they're acting and what they're trying to get done. So I wanted to pause here and open it up to you through a polling question. And so we're going to ask 2 questions. One is, what are your plans for deploying tablets in your organization? And if you can bring the poll up, then we can get answers from folks. I can't see the poll myself here. Can you all see the poll? Can somebody? You do. Okay, Jakob. That's good. I do not see the poll. So you're going to have to read them off, Jakob, when they come in, and we can maybe just kind of gauge where people are here.
Okay.
So has everybody had a chance to click? How's it looking, Jakob? Can we talk about the results?
Yeah.
Oh, they're not up yet. I got you.
You see the results? So the results
sorry, I missed that.
The results are in. We have 61% which have already deployed tablets to some employee groups, and so the vast majority. And then we have 4% which plan to deploy it this year, 16% next year, and 20% have no plans.
Okay, so that's interesting. Thanks for reading those off. Let's just pause there for a moment before we put the next question up. So the 20% that are not planning to deploy, it might be interesting to hear from some of those why not. And of course, with 61% already down the path, it's just remarkable when you step back here. This thing didn't even exist a couple of years ago, and in its current form, right? It was slates and sort of Windows, heavy machines, and now we've got this just dramatic thing. So it'd be interesting to hear from folks about which groups, and we didn't put a question up on that, but maybe somebody can answer, kind of share what they're doing as we move forward here. But let's go ahead and put the other poll up and question up. And while people are filling that one out, maybe we can get 1 or 2 attendees to share kind of what they're doing with the tablets they've deployed. Which groups are you deploying tablets to? Maybe is a way I could ask that question. And are the microphones open? Can people actually talk into the microphone, into the phones?
Susan, I think they need to raise their hands, right?
So
let's see.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we are getting results, but people are still voting.
Okay, all right, that's fine. So certainly, I talked to probably, I don't know, 200 IT managers and CIOs about about their tablet projects over the last 2 years. And certainly we see tablets in the executive branch a lot. We see it in sales a lot. We see it in field service a lot. We see it in sort of field-based staff out in some specialty areas. Like there was one for transportation, a rail company, and the people that essentially walk the lines and check for track problems. They use tablets. Somebody else is a construction manager on a huge job site. It's a stadium in Europe, and they have widely deployed tablets for the construction drawings, the schedule, the suppliers, the status. It's really quite remarkable how extensive their support is in doing it, and they're using some specialty applications to do that. All right, good. So do we have the second poll ready to go here?
Yes. So we have
okay,
do you see the results, Ted, or should I read?
I do not. No, I'm afraid I can't see the results.
Okay, so we asked what are the barriers to deploying application on tablets in the enterprise, and we have 52% which responded that they can't easily deploy existing application to tablets. 33% which are saying that our existing collaboration tools don't run on tablets, 33%. 62% are concerned about security on tablets.
Yeah.
45% don't yet have a device management solution for tablets.
Yeah, yeah.
So the big issue seems to be security first, lack of applications on tablets, lack of collaboration tools.
Yeah, good. Well, that certainly mirrors what our data show and what certainly the conversations I've had say, and it's not a surprise given how new they are. In fact, that it's not Windows, right? Typically it's a different operating system, and so there's a whole different security model and an application model. We don't have in most cases our business applications running on iOS devices yet. Yeah, things are coming. Salesforce has a good offering, and SAP is moving, but when you think about Microsoft generally, they've been very, very slow to support anything really beyond email. I mean, they have Exchange ActiveSync, of course, but not very sophisticated. All right, so that's great, folks. Thanks for sharing. Let me share some of our data here. So we started surveying employees. I'm an IT guy. I'm a software person actually, but I also spent some time at Forrester looking at consumer use of technology, and we use a lot of survey data in our consumer practice. And I brought that same technique, that same methodology of surveys over to survey employees. And we now do that in 17 countries. We collect information worker data in 17 countries. And we've also done a number of projects with customers for their own employees. But we ask about things that I guess we'd all expect maybe, but IT tends to not have the facts. They tend to go more on kind of the activity logs or their intuition. But this is a question about where did you get your primary smartphone you use for work? And shockingly, really, only 22% have a standard corporate liable device. Now, this is true for companies of all sizes. It's also true, almost the same proportions, in the enterprise. And so, interestingly, already today in 2011, and this was, a year old now, the data is the same, which is why I didn't bother to refresh it in our global study. And so half just bought it and expect to use it, and another almost a third, 29%, did pick from a short list. So that's a very empowered workforce, and they're making very personal choices for smartphones. And that leads to a very chaotic environment when it comes to the platforms. We've got Apple. This is the install base now in the U.S. This is from a Q4 study that I mentioned, the global one. Apple at 23% of the install base of primary smartphones. Android at 27%. BlackBerry, which used to be around 80%, along with Symbian and Windows Mobile, is now at 37%, and others, which is really mostly those two, Symbian and Windows Mobile, is 13%. So and Windows Phone is hardly there at all yet. So we've got a very complex environment in which to operate, a multi-platform environment. In tablets, it's much worse, if you want to think of it that way, in the sense of being non-standard platforms, much more complicated for IT because Apple has been so dominant. And I was actually surprised by these Android numbers, but it turns out that in a lot of the emerging markets and a lot of the Asian markets, remember this is a global study, we have higher proportion of the Android tablets in those markets because we didn't have iPad and there's more diversity for Android. In the U.S., North America, and in Europe, the numbers for Apple are quite a bit higher. And when you look at the application use, the sort of attach rate to core services, business apps, for example, the Salesforce data, for example, is very heavily tilted toward iOS, toward Apple here. So we strongly believe that Apple is going to continue to dominate this market. Be happy to take your questions on Windows 8. I know it's a very active discussion right now. In fact, Microsoft is talking to a bunch of its developers this week in Orlando about Windows 8, and I've certainly got a point of view on that I'd be happy to walk you through. So again, mobile drives a radical change in what people do, instant on, all-day life, immediate access, very task-oriented applications in the best case. So what happens is you've got this convenience factor. It's much more convenient to use a mobile device than to walk to your desk and pull up the desktop app. So you get an explosion of use and transaction volume, and it's dramatic. So a lot of these SaaS applications, they see a 10x growth because of mobile. You look at the Facebook, IPO fiasco recently, and a big part of their valuation is based on the fact that 35% already of their traffic is mobile, and they have no way to monetize that mobile traffic because ads don't really work very well on smartphones, and on tablets it's better, but not as good as on, say, PC web. So you get this sort of inundation, if you like, of use, and a lot more transaction volume, and also a lot more value, right? Because if something, if somebody has like a few minutes a day to go check on a SharePoint site, for example, they might do it, once in a while. In fact, our data shows that. But when they're mobile and they can get it anywhere, anytime, they're going to hit it a lot more often. They're going to get a lot more value out of that SharePoint installation. And the same is true for business intelligence apps and for process status apps and for other key applications. So you get this really this 10x increase in the transaction volume in a successful mobile deployment. So I do want to pause here and see if we can get some questions and some ideas coming in from attendees, Yakov, if you agree, to really kind of ask you, what do your employees want from tablets and smartphones? And I don't know the best way to do it here, whether they need to raise their hand and you need to call on them, or I can't see the attendees, so I think you're going to have to manage that process for us, Yakov and Susan. Or if it's just open mics, then people could just talk. Anybody there? You could also use the chat window, I suppose, right? Could people use the chat window to ask to sort of lob in their things?
Yeah, if anybody wants to raise a hand to speak up, that's fine. Or you can type on the chat window. I will tell you one thing I heard, Ted, which is I heard from CIOs, and that SharePoint is one of the most missing applications.
It is. So, yeah.
But I don't know if anybody can comment on that.
Well, I don't want to stress the point here, Yakov. People came to learn, and so why don't we move forward here? If somebody does raise their hand, please interrupt me, and we'll take the question. What employees want, of course, is they want it all. They want SharePoint on their tablet, on their smartphone, on their desktop. They want access to the content and applications they rely on the device of their choice from any location without hassle and with fantastic performance and usability. It's what they want. when you look at the multi-device world, 55% of global information workers use multiple devices for work. They use two PCs, they use a smartphone and a PC, they use tablets, and so there's just a tremendous change in people's expectations about what they are going to get. And when you look at the SharePoint use, it's actually quite high, or the team site use, it's doubled in the last 2 years. The use of SharePoint or team sites by employees. So there's been a dramatic uptick in the deployments of SharePoint and the use of deployment of SharePoint, and that's great. But when you ask about the applications on tablets and smartphones, SharePoint doesn't show up. You get email, you got Portal, you've got file sync, you've got a Salesforce application, and you do have some Office productivity, but you don't have SharePoint. It is not in the top 5 list.
Ted, I see we have some questions coming in. So
fantastic.
The first question I see is from Mark Standler. I've unmuted you, Mark, if you'd like to speak to Ted.
Oh, just on the, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, on the previous question, when you asked, what do employees want on their mobile devices, I said, exactly what you said. They want parity with what they can get on their desktops, behind the firewall. So they want,
right.
the Portal, Virtual Office, Oracle, whatever they have access to, they want access to on their mobile devices, which obviously is challenging. So that was my only comment.
No, that's a great comment, and I'm glad you brought it up, because these are real applications. And so there's a question that we all have to face it, right, which is how do we do that? Number one, can we do it? And that's about setting expectations, right? So we don't overpromise and underdeliver, and we help coach people toward what the devices are good for. So if they're a laptop replacement, that's a very different model than if they are, an enablement device for on-the-go people. So that's one issue. And the second issue is, if they want parity, and we think over time we can get parity, then what are the architectures to do it? Right? I mean, is that we just have to hope that Windows 8 works really well and everybody loves them and they use that as a corporate device? Well, sure, that could work. We still have, however, the security and the firewall and the wireless access and the data plan issue to deal with. The Wi-Fi, facility Wi-Fi, campus Wi-Fi, issues. So what we've been coaching people towards is to really step back and prioritize those apps. And again, there are different scenarios for different devices. Smartphones different from tablets, and tablets as a third device versus tablets as a laptop replacement. So in sales, it's very often people want to get rid of the laptops. Now we've got a much harder problem to solve. So now we have to really line up the apps one by one and say, well, do we need that app? Can we port that app? Can we use VDI? Can we extend the app? And so we have some advice on that coming up here. But it's really critical what you just said. Thank you. Susan, was there another
Ted?
question?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Ted, Edward Krebs has a question for you. Edward, I've unmuted you. If you could introduce yourself and ask your question.
Hi, Edward.
Hello? Okay. In the meantime, let's see if somebody else has a question. Sandy Harvey, I see, has a question. Sandy, if you could ask your question.
Well, it wasn't really a question, but we have seen the priority on our mobile devices, obviously, as email and calendaring. We're getting more and more requests to be able to VPN in to get access to applications on the corporate network. So I think that what the first gentleman stated is true. They want parity within their systems to not have to carry around a heavy laptop, but be able to carry around their tablet instead. And still be able to get access to all of the information that they would normally get access through their laptop. And I can tell you, in fact, that the top 2 individuals in our organization both only carry around iPads. So, so that just kind of gives you, kind of a gist of where it's going. And I think it's just the mobility, that people want.
It is, yeah. They do. They want that freedom. They're tired of sitting at their desks. So thank you for sharing that. I am going to move forward here to make sure we have time for Yakov to speak and whatnot. So we really do think you have to take a pragmatic approach. Part of it's setting expectations. Part of it's really making the right trade-off decisions. And there are some tough ones that you're facing. So BYOD is a way to expand mobile reach at lower total cost. I mean, when you add up the data plan, the device, it may incur cost for IT though, right? Because you've got to deal with an MDM license, for example. Container-based security, I think, is the future, but VPN is the reality today, and mobile device management is a reality today as well. So container-based security, meaning where we secure the application end-to-end using a good technology solution, for example, for email, is still fairly early. You've got to extend the value of existing apps. You're not going to yank every app out of Oracle and put it up in some cloud SaaS solution. So you're going to have to extend the value. And, of course, you have to mobilize the key applications. So we talked about these already here. And I think native is better experience. So you use native apps if a vendor is offering them to you. HTML5, though, for lots of business apps, a lot of portal redos, a lot of kind of thin client. And then VDI, I would say you have to use that relatively sparingly for a very active mobile organization, because the apps just don't work they're not that friendly. And there is a risk-reward sort of trade-off. You have to bring the security team, the legal team, the compliance team back together to say, what risks, if any, are we willing to incur here, because there is more risk. You've said this already, so I don't need to walk you through that. This is my last slide here. You clearly need to analyze the situation. So we spend a lot of time doing projects for inventory and assessment and employee assessment using surveys and other techniques, working group, focus groups, to try to really understand what people are doing. BYOD is part of a broader end-user computing rethink. It's not just mobile, really. It's really about who needs what, so a segmented approach, multi-device, we've talked about that. Not client-server, but service-oriented, and then clearly platform agnostic is going to pay off for us in the end. Because then we don't care as much about what the device is. And then the solutions we pick are going to have to handle the different scenarios we're dealing with. So MDM will be important, app extensions to existing apps, and SaaS in many cases. People are moving pretty aggressively to SaaS solutions here to handle it. And then the thing, and what Yakov's going to certainly talk about, is mobilizing the existing content and applications. So how do you really do that extension? And then lastly, I would say, wherever possible, try to make sure the security model exists to manage the data in the app rather than the device. It's a much more flexible, future-protected solution. And so when you're looking for a vendor, make sure they have an end-to-end security solution that you can accept and work with. So that's really it. I appreciate your time. Sorry for some of the back and forth on the slide presentation and whatnot, but that's it. I wanted to pass the ball back to Yakov. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ted. I think this was pretty comprehensive, and you gave a nice overview of the complexities, the diversity of the challenges of the mobile IT. And what I would like to do now is to take a look at how we can come up with, at least do some one step forward and starting tackling these issues. And really our goal is to increase collaboration and help company increase collaboration and increase social interactions within employees and across line of businesses in order to be more efficient. I think everybody understands that one, collaboration is key in this competitive landscape and in this challenging economy. Two, that mobility is a huge part of collaboration, and there is no real enterprise collaboration strategy without mobility is a core part. It should be thought about ahead of time. So I think we need to start by thinking about this guy. And this guy is your business user. So he's not necessarily a really tech-savvy geek, not necessarily totally excited by iPads and other mobile devices as we are. These guys is a mainstream business user which want to get his job done. And we need to come up with pragmatic solutions which really make it easier for our mainstream business users to collaborate, to be able to share documents, to be able to connect with people, and to do it in a very human-centric approach. Because the root cause of the confusion and the lack of adoption, we have seen a lot of collaboration solutions, even SharePoint, which are suffering from a dramatically low adoption rate, and some of that has to do with the fact that the user are not being engaged both on mobile and on the desktop. But one of the core issues has been we have been throwing tools on these users. We have been providing ability to obviously email, calendar, but then we came all the document sharing team sites, and then we added the social platform, and then you got the external social platform like Twitter and LinkedIn. And we end up having a pretty confused and pretty scattered workforce, which is pretty distracted. And when you look at it from a SharePoint standpoint, while SharePoint is extremely dominant in the enterprise, with 78% of Fortune 500 which have deployed SharePoint, and 125 million users, only 11% are actually using SharePoint daily. So a pretty low adoption rate. And one of the reasons is really the fact that SharePoint is not available today broadly on mobile devices. And really it's not just about mobile, but it's about delivering a collaboration experience which is consistent across devices. Because we need to collaborate with our peers no matter where which limits, but still there are a lot of, in order to keep up, the smartphones are really good. So I think, and then as we're getting in the cloud, we need, and people are accessing maybe their email through a kiosk, they still need to be able to post documents, even from a web email. They need to be able to post attachments on SharePoint, and needs to be able to share links, and needs to be able to look for skills and access profiles of their colleagues. So really our strategy, our Harmony, is to deliver this single user experience everywhere, no matter where you are, and both on mobile and desktop devices. So there is no enterprise solution which is mobile only, but I don't think there is also a real enterprise solution which is desktop only. You just need to cover it all. And I think the point was really great about the parity that has been asked and required. Parity of experience. It should be a very consistent user experience across all these platforms. It can't be identical because you need to adapt to the form factor, but it has to be carefully thought because you don't expect the same thing when you're on your desktop that you are on a smartphone. But you need to really be able to deliver a user experience which is consistent. So let's now take a look at how this looks like, and let's take a scenario. So I'm going to try to do something I didn't do before, which is I'm going to do, so for all the people which are not attentive, and I can see on my console, I won't name you, but I can see who is not attentive. So please, that's the time to maybe take a look. You're going to see something real, so a real demo. So we're going to start from the desktop. And so I am comfortably using SharePoint, and I can use it, without Harmony. But then, as you may know, I think most of you know already Harmony. I have now on the left side, I have my collaboration space. See, on the left side, I have my personal space with my emails, my calendar, my contacts, my tasks. On the right side, I have my collaboration space with my documents and my colleagues. So let's say now we're going to, let's say I want to work on, after this great session, I want to work on a mobile plan. on a mobile project plan. So we're going to I created this document directly on SharePoint. I have a plan to catch, but I edited this document before I left. And I'm going to save this document directly on SharePoint. And I'm going to give it a name, Mobile Project Plan. Okay, so we created this plan, and I need to get feedback from my boss and my other colleagues. So basically, let's see, I should see it now on SharePoint. Here it is, Mobile Project Plan. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just quickly send a link to my team. So with Harmony, I have SharePoint as a sidebar of every window, including my new message window, including a received message. And I'm going to ask feedback on my mobile plan. Okay. So I send my email. I send a link, not an attachment. God forbid, we want to have a single copy of this document. Now what I can do, I have to leave. And I'm going to now be moving to my iPad, because now I am already at the airport. And I hope you can all see my iPad. And this is actually live demo also on the iPad. I have a special device to project the iPad, so hopefully that's going to be working well. So now I'm going to start Harmony on my iPad. So I have also Harmony on my iPad, so I can see the same sites. I can navigate in sites. And so we can just see here, I can just simply, this can be an Office 365 site, this can be hosted through another provider. It can be a site which is on-premise or in the cloud. It doesn't really matter. And one of the things I want to show you, you can see here that I can access my sites. I can also access people, location, but I can see updates. So I want to see if anybody has done anything with my mobile project plan. Oh, Carl has updated actually the mobile project plan. So I would like to see what Carl did with that. So I am, as you can see, I am on the go, and I've seen I got a real-time update that Carl has updated the plan. So what I want to do, I want to actually take a look at what Carl did. So I'm going to open this document. I need to approve this. So let's see, I'm going to use Quick Office. And here it is. This is the same document, and I can see that Carl actually zeroed up some of the budget we have. He doesn't like the physical labs. Okay, so that's one thing I can see here. I'm going to also add some more budget here. Okay, one thing I'm going to do now, I have a save back option. So basically, Quick Office, and Harmony has been working with Quick Office, and there is a save back option to Harmony. So I can do save back. Okay, and I will save back in Harmony, meaning that I will be able now to put my updated document directly on SharePoint. So as you can see, Harmony, okay.
Yaakov?
Hold on.
Yeah,
I got it.
Yaakov,
Yeah.
I see.
Okay.
Yaakov.
Yeah, I'm back.
I see
I'm
that
back. Yeah, that. Yep.
About what you're doing right now. So, Drew, if you would like to speak, I've unmuted you.
Yeah. How do you see what document changes have been made? Because you know, you open the document, and your colleague had edited the document. So on my document, how do I know what changes is made?
Yeah. So basically, how do I know what changes has been made? I can use red lines, you know, like Word red lines or any other techniques. I can also see the version history. But I can actually follow what I didn't explain, that I have favorite locations, both on my desktop as well as on my iPad. And when I follow a location, I'm getting updates from this location. Okay?
Okay.
So, and then I will see this activity stream that you see right now on your screen of all the documents, locations that I'm following. If Carl just updated the mobile project plan, I can see it because I have put as favorite the document library where the mobile project plan resides. So now what I did, and I don't know if you may have missed that, so maybe I'm going to do it again. Let's try it again. I wanted to show you that, but my connector, my iPad connector disconnected. So I am going to the mobile project plan, and what I'm getting is a document menu with a send, so I will be able to send a link, for example. In this case, I'm going to open with, and I will open in Quick Office. And Quick Office is loading the document. I am editing the document. And then I have the option to save back. Meaning to Quick Office enable me to make changes to the document and to open it back in Harmony so I can store it right away on SharePoint. So Harmony now detected that the document has been updated, and I can update the document, and I can check it back in and put my comments. So I can make it as a major version, and I will put my comments. So this document is approved. So very quickly at the airport, I am productive. I reviewed the changes, made some additional changes. What I can do now, I can send a link. So I'm sending a link to my team. And that's it. The document is basically approved. Okay, so that's one thing I've been able to do. But let's say I still have in my company some folks which are, they seems not to be getting it. They are, oh, Michal again. Oh, she sent me an attachment, okay? So I want actually to put this attachment on SharePoint. So how can I do that? Let's see. Okay, I can open, I touch on the document or on the attachment, and I open it in Harmony. Okay, so I open the document in Harmony, and now Harmony understood that basically I am on upload mode. Okay, meaning I'm going to be able to navigate my SharePoint sites, but I can now save it. You see, I can save it through this icon. So I'm uploading this document, and I will be able now to, let's say this is a scenario where you got from a customer an attachment, and this is an important project, requirements from a customer, and you're on the go. You want your team to right away work on this. And what are you going to do? You are uploading it to SharePoint rather than sending an attachment, and then right away you can send a link again. And that's how you send a link. Everybody working on the same copy of this document. So it's another scenario where I receive from a customer an important set of requirements. I am on the go. I want my team to start working on it. What typically you would do, you would send attachments. And here you have the opportunity to actually do it differently. So this gives you some of the scenario that you can do. The last one maybe I'm going to show you really quick. What happens if we receive all these links in our email? Okay, so let's say I got a link here, and I want, it's not easy to go to this location on SharePoint unless you really like to type credentials. I'm going to copy to the clipboard this link, and I'm going to invoke again Harmony. And Harmony has detected that a URL is in the clipboard, so Harmony is going to actually navigate to this location. And I will get the same easy menu to send a link or to open this document, update it, see properties, all this. So at that stage, maybe if you have any questions about the product or anything we discussed, that could be a pretty good time. And really the point I wanted to share with you, this experience, which I believe is key, this single user experience across desktop and iPads, where I have really the opportunity and the ability to collaborate and to get this parity of experience, as it has been mentioned before. And I can still collaborate on the go, and I still share documents and connect with colleagues and stay productive on the go. Any questions, Susan?
Yes, I see a question from Michelle Havens, but I can't. Let me ask it for you. I'm trying to unmute her.
What about integration?
What about integration and seamless access?
Yeah, Michelle, I can hear you, right? What's your question?
The question, Yaakov, I'm asking because I can't, is what about integration and seamless access?
Okay, integration between, so a very good point. So integration, I believe, between the iPad and the desktops, right? So for example, what we are doing is I showed you here my favorite location. So I have favorite locations here, and this location in the Harmony Mobile Enterprise Edition, they are being shared. So if I add a favorite location on my iPad, this location will be also viewed. I will be able to view it from my Outlook or even Lotus Notes email client, and I basically share the favorites. Same about sites. We showed the sites here. Basically, these sites, first they can be provisioned by IT, central IT, for both mobile and desktop. But if a user had a site on her desktop, she's going to be able to see this site also on the mobile. So that's the integration that we enable, and that's really what we call the single user experience. Because if I need to retype and re-enter credentials, that's the little things which are making the whole experience a lot less compelling, and you end up reading a magazine rather than filing with your SharePoint site.
Yaakov, I'd like Pam Larson has a question for you. Pam,
sure.
Introduce yourself and ask your question. Hello? All right. I will ask her question for her. Her question to you is, where do you see desktop usage going in the next 5 years as compared to laptops and mobile devices?
Yeah, the reality is that nobody knows. Nobody knew and nobody forecasted the iPad to grow so rapidly and quickly within 2 years, and nobody knows the landscape in 5 years. I think what's smarter to do is actually to deliver the same user experience on laptop, on iPads, and on over the cloud. So maybe Ted also. Maybe Ted, you have.
Yeah, Yaakov. Let me jump in here if I could. I think. This is one reality. A second reality is multi-platform. The days of single platform where we had Windows on the desktop and BlackBerry as the mobile device, those days are never coming back. IT may, in fact, the pendulum may swing back away from BYOD, but we're never going to see a single platform come back because of the technology that's available in the home. Which leads to the third thing, which Yaakov, you said, which is that you have to think about a different model for provisioning applications onto devices, one that is device agnostic, one that it makes it possible to reach, you're never going to get to parity, right, but to get close enough to parity that people make a decision whether or not they're going to bring their laptop with them or they're going to leave their laptop, at their desk or at their home. And so that's where the prioritization of the applications is very, very important, and where SharePoint is one of the big barriers to overcome, which is why I think what what Harmony is doing is so very important.
Yeah, I think there are some really good points here that I would like to talk about and to share with the team, anybody online. So one, I think, is that, as you said, Ted, it's going to be a mobile devices world, and people are going to keep their PC for a while because parity won't be achieved so quickly. One of the things we see and we're part of is there is a movement for the enterprise iPad. And I think that you talked about the issue of security, and I think Good with the secured container have a very compelling solution. And Harmony is partnering with Good to provide, by September, a Good enabled Harmony application which will live in the Good container. So all your access to SharePoint will be encrypted through the Good servers, and the Harmony application will actually live in the Good container. So for example, if the device is being compromised, the iPad is being lost, so you can destroy just the Good secured container. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is we are partnering with mobile device management suppliers, and we will provide an MDN compliant package, so you will be able to use AirWatch, Mobile Iron, and to distribute. There is a distribution question. You are able this way to distribute Harmony Enterprise to your install base. So that's the second element. A third element, which is really crucial, is in order to be productive on the go, you need to support Office productivity application. And so today we partnered with Quick Office, and they do the save back into Harmony. But we are basically working with Documents to Go. We will be working with, we are working also with other Office providers. And that's also a very important component in order to enable document editing, document sharing on SharePoint on the go, in order really to at least get closer to this parity which has been required. The other thing I would like to mention is you mentioned, Ted, bring your own device support. So in one end, we are very focused on iOS, and we had a lot of good feedback from CTOs and CIOs of large enterprises and our customers that they are really betting on iOS, and people are talking about deploying tens of thousands of iPads in the next couple of years. So that's our primary focus. The iPad is our primary focus, but nevertheless, we believe bring your own device is super important, and we're going to be supporting the major ecosystem for mobile devices with Android and Windows Mobile during 2013. So this is right now our plan for Harmony. First, a strong focus on iPad, and then multi-device. We can take more questions. What we wanted to do also before we wrap up, if anybody wants to chat together with an Harmony SharePoint mobility expert, you can simply participate in the poll, which you should be able to see. So you can definitely do that, and we'll contact you to set up a one-on-one session and to look at your specific issues. The other thing, Harmony is available from the App Store. There is an Harmony Lite read-only version, which is free. There is a $20 Harmony version, which is fully features with read and write. And we are coming up already in July with the Harmony Enterprise version, which will enable the provisioning of the application, the support of the MDM, which will enable also sharing the sites and the favorites across mobile and iPad. So this is coming already in July, when in September you should expect to get the good enabled version as well. So you can download also Harmony for SharePoint, Outlook Edition. If you didn't do it, there is a free version there.
Full iPad version of the SharePoint application. Are you able to administer SharePoint within the enterprise?
So you mean the administration of SharePoint?
Yeah.
So we are not trying to enable SharePoint administration from the iPad.
Okay.
And our focus is really to enable the business users to collaborate using the iPad.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you everybody. We try to do a virtual roundtable to have people ask questions. Maybe we have a last one, Susan? Yes, no, maybe? If not, I want to thank Ted for his great review of the mobile challenges and opportunity. Yes?
Yaakov, there's one more question that I see here I'd like to ask before we're done. Colleen Parker asked, please, does Harmony have plans to deliver other SharePoint content, such as web pages, lists, along with access to libraries in the future?
Yes, so we are about to also deliver SharePoint list. That's a very good question, thank you. So you will be able to access SharePoint lists from the iPad and eventually also from the desktop. Actually, we're going to first put this feature in the iPad and then later on the desktop. So thank you all for the great questions. We have tried to make that very interactive. Thank you, Ted. And we'll see you later. Take care.
And we'll follow up with your questions afterwards if we didn't have time to answer you now. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.